4,000 years ago, during the time of Abraham, it was believed among all the pagan peoples that the gods in the heavens were not all that friendly. In fact, they had to be appeased with sacrifice. So you had to offer to the gods not the crumbs, not the leftovers, not the crippled things, but the first fruits, the first of the harvest, would be given back to God by sacrifice, or the first of the flock, the firstborn, even the firstborn of your children had to be given back to the gods. So Abraham believed that his firstborn, Isaac, had to be sacrificed to God. Pretty frightening, isn't it? Especially, I'm the firstborn. I mean, I wouldn't be here if that hadn't changed. You see, what happened with Abraham was that he heard the voice of God through the angel say, I see your faithfulness, but I do not desire your son's life. Take this animal whose horns were caught in the bushes, the ram, and sacrifice that in place of your son. And that's what he did. From that point on, everyone who followed Abraham, Isaac and Jacob and the 12 tribes, they no longer sacrificed their firstborn child to the gods, but they still sacrificed to God in thanksgiving. Now, if you were rich, you sacrificed an ox. If you weren't so rich, you might have a sheep or a lamb. If you were poor, 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons. There's plenty of them. So when Joseph and Mary had their firstborn son at Bethlehem, they presented him in the temple in Jerusalem. And they offered what? In sacrifice to God. You remember that story? The presentation? 2 turtle doves. They were poor people, evidently. But they came to the temple to thank God for the gift of their son, and they offered that sacrifice. Now, yesterday was my birthday. Before I got out of bed, I thank God for my mother and my father. And the reason for that is that they shared their life with me. Not only that, but after I was born, they didn't give up on me. They persevered. Even when I gave them evidence of going, can we take that one back? So I gave thanks to God because it is right to give thanks to God for the gift of our children. We don't have to sacrifice the first one on an altar, but we do offer him thanks. It is right and just. Now, as great as that sacrifice was for Abraham, we see the sacrifice of God. God sacrificed himself for us. He wouldn't have had to do that, would he? Did God owe us anything? Does God owe us anything? No. Yet he sacrificed himself. Through Jesus Christ, He sacrificed himself on that cross. We got a picture of it right there. Here he gives his life to save ours. So, I ask parents, when did you first love your child? Before he was born. You loved him before he was even born. That's like God. He loves us before we're even born. That's right. And I asked at baptism, I said, now, if it took your life to save your child's, would you sacrifice your life to save your child? Would you? Yeah. Is there any greater love than that? Does anyone know any love that's greater than that? No. And that's exactly what we see in that picture that God did for us. He sacrificed his life in Jesus that we might have life eternal. There's no greater love than that. So as good as Abraham was, God has shown us the greatest sacrifice of all, for he sacrificed himself for us. And it is he who we are following. We're here to give him thanks. We're here to praise him and to offer him our life because he's loved us that much.